Hi YouTubers, welcome to one of my videos. I'm down the motorhome and the leisure battery is quite low, and the reason for that is the solar regulator here stopped working, and I bought a new one which is the same fixing as the old one. This one's a 30 amp one, it's got the fins on the back, and I think the original one was a 10 amp because it's a plain back. And what was happening was this was actually reading the 12 volt battery at 15 volts, so it wouldn't put a charge into it because it assumed it was charged, although the battery was below 12 volt. So I don't know what's gone wrong with that one, so I'm going to fit this one, which is a higher power unit, same operating instructions, and it should be the same footprint, so I can bolt it straight in. So that's what I'm going to do now. But first of all, I'm going to put my soldering iron on, and I'm going to solder the wires because they're fraying a little bit, you know, the whiskers. So I'm going to twist them and solder them all together so it goes easier in the controller. So for the soldering iron, I've got a low power soldering iron here. It's 230 volt. It's plugged into an extension lead, and that's running out to my car, which I've got an inverter connected onto the car battery, and rather than try and use a leisure battery, and I didn't want to risk flattening the Talbot start battery as well, so I'm doing it that way, and hopefully it will work like that. Well, the new controller's fitted. It's actually reading 13 volts, which means the battery's been charged. Yeah, 12.6, 10.7, 24,601 is a battery type, which is a sealed battery. So let's go back. 13 volts. So we seem to be working, which means there should be half a volt difference on this one. That's the main engine battery, 12.1. That's 12.2, 12.3. Yeah, about the same. That's good. I think I've done it. Excuse me. So that's a bit of a pain, but I think we're going to be alright. A 30 amp charger. Yes, looks a bit untidy. Looks a bit untidy up there, but it's not too bad. I'm now back home. This is the original solar charge controller. Now firstly, it is a very low cost one, and it's been, well, I've used it about 2 years now. It's not an MPPT controller. This is a PWM controller, which uses pulse width modulation, and it's obviously a cheaper version. It's not as efficient as an MPPT controller. Now, I've had this apart, and there was a few solder joints which were okay, but I resoldered them, and what has become intermittent with age is really being the USB connectors here for charging. You have to wriggle your leads about in here to make a good connection, but I'm not too bothered about that. And now I've had it home and soldered it up, and I found it was still reading high. So although you put 12 volts in, like on the battery terminals, it was reading 15 volts, which meant that it was being tricked into thinking that the battery was charged, so it wouldn't put the solar panel into it. It was like overcharged, and so I don't really know quite what was wrong with it, but what I did do is I went through the settings and I changed the battery type to other types and went back to the default battery setting, which is, I think it's B01 for this unit, and it started to read the voltage correctly to within 0.1 of a volt, 0.2 of a volt, 200 millivolts, which it could be a tolerance between the meter reading, and it seems to be working. So I'm going to use this as my shed, and on the leisure battery I have in my shed, and I'll be able to give it a proper test with a small solar panel. If you're wondering what this lead is here, because I've got split chargers, 2 split chargers on my vehicle. One is the normal built-in one, which when the engine battery is full it charges the leisure battery, and the other one I fitted myself and made it myself, and what that does is if the leisure battery is fully charged and the engine start battery is a bit low, I can operate a switch, and the split charger I've made will, in conjunction with the solar panel controller and the solar panels, will actually charge the main engine battery. And also there's additional circuitry in it which stops it from being, what shall I say, when you start the engine it only allows a certain amount of current to be taken from the leisure battery and not the full starting current of the starter motor. So it limits the current, but it can be used for charging the engine battery from solar. So because of these terminals here, the terminals are not big enough to put all the wires in that's needed, so you need 2 for the solar panel, 2 for the leisure battery, 2 for a load, lighting circuit, or whatever loads on here. This one goes off to the other split charger, and that's a feed out. So that's one additional wire. So I've had to fit a wire like this onto the new solar controller. So this will be used in the shed, and I have a leisure battery in the shed now, and I've got a diesel heater in that, so I can heat the shed from the diesel heater, and I'm hoping I can recharge the leisure battery in the shed with a small solar panel and this controller as I've got it. You can pick these up for about £6 and very reasonably priced. They're not as efficient, as I said, as the MPPTs, and but to be honest, I've been very pleased with it. It's something's happened to it. It may be fixed now. It may be just the microprocessor got confused for some reason. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like.